Most people believe the gardening window closes in spring. They see May roll by, miss it, and tell themselves they'll try again next year. But the gardeners with the most color-filled, wildlife buzzing, beautiful yards this summer? A lot of them didn't plant in May. They waited until June, on purpose, because they knew something most people scrolling nursery websites don't. June is not a missed opportunity. For the right plants, June is the perfect moment. In most of the continental U.S., the frost risk is gone, the soil is fully warm, and these perennials are primed to root fast and reward you long before summer is over. Not annuals that drain your wallet every April and die before Halloween. Not shrubs that spend 3 years sulking before they do anything interesting. Perennials, plants that come back every year with more presence, more color, and less demand on your time. Every plant on this list gets stronger as the years pass. And June is when they want to go in the ground. The days are long. The roots have all season to anchor before winter. Plant now, and by August, your yard will look like you've been at this for years. By next June, it will look intentional. By the year after, your neighbors will stop you at the mailbox and ask what you're doing differently. Today, I'm gifting you the 14 most beautiful perennials to get in the ground this month, ranked from show-stopping to absolutely unforgettable. Don't skip ahead, because number 12 is a native plant most American gardeners have never considered, and it draws so many butterflies in August that people stop to stare. And number 14 is the one I saved for last, because it does something no other plant on this list does. It improves your soil quietly underground, fills the gaps you forgot about, and keeps giving back for the rest of your gardening life. If that's the kind of gardening that makes sense to you, hit the subscribe button right now. At Easy Harvest Gardens, we post every week around one idea. Your garden should heal you, not exhaust you. Let's get into it. Number 1, Black-Eyed Susan, Rudbeckia, the backbone of the summer garden. Start here. Black-Eyed Susan is the plant that proves perennial gardening doesn't require skill, money, or perfect conditions. Those golden petals surrounding a dark chocolate center that you've seen growing wild in roadside ditches from Texas to Maine. There's a reason they grow there, untouched. They ask almost nothing and come back every summer regardless. Plant in June, and you'll have flowers from midsummer straight through the first hard frost. 3 to 4 months of nonstop color from a plant that thrives on being left alone. Pollinators swarm these flowers all summer. When the blooms go to seed in fall, goldfinches and sparrows feed from the dried heads through winter. You're not just planting color, you're building a working ecosystem. Full sun, decent drainage, that's it. Too much fertilizer makes them floppy. Too much water does the same. The most common reason Black-Eyed Susans underperform is too much attention. Moved to better soil, fed on a schedule, watered daily. Pull back the care and they correct themselves within a season. Plant them as your anchor, the constant that holds the border together while everything else cycles in and out. Number 2, Coneflower, Echinacea, the healer that earns its keep twice. Echinacea is where the perennial garden gets both its pulse and its purpose. Those raised purple and pink cones aren't just beautiful. They're the same plant pressed into the immune supplements on your pharmacy shelf. Echinacea purpurea has been used medicinally across North America for centuries. But its garden value goes well beyond what it does for your health. Drought-tolerant, heat-resistant, deer-resistant, and it gets better with age. Plant 3 in June, and in 5 years you'll have a dozen, all free, all from the original plants. Here's what most gardeners miss. Do not cut the seed heads back in fall. Leave them standing. Those sculptural dried cones become feeding stations for goldfinches and chickadees all winter. Your garden works for wildlife 12 months a year instead of 3. Give it at least 6 hours of direct sun and room to spread. Crowd it, and you invite powdery mildew. Give it space and it rewards you for decades. Number 3, Daylily, Hemerocallis, the one that multiplies itself for free. Daylilies are among the most forgiving plants in American gardening. And that's not an accident. Those wide trumpet blooms in yellow, orange, burgundy, peach, and red rise above grass-like foliage and bloom in waves through June and July. Here's what most gardeners don't know. Each flower lasts only 1 day, but a healthy clump carries dozens of buds opening in sequence over 3 to 4 weeks. One plant becomes a rolling flower show, not a single moment. The real magic is digestion. Every 3 to 4 years, dig up the clump, pull it apart, replant the sections. One becomes six. Six become 30, all free. Full sun to part shade, average soil, and they handle almost anything except standing water. They also root faster in June heat than most perennials. The warmth that stresses other new transplants is exactly what tells a daylily it's home. Number 4. Salvia, the hummingbird highway. Salvia nemorosa and its cultivated varieties produce upright spikes of violet blue or rich purple that hummingbirds and native bees treat as a dedicated food source from June through September. The blooms appear in early summer, and if you cut spent spikes back by a third after the first flush, it blooms again and again. Full sun, lean soil, good drainage. Rich soil and extra water make it floppy and prone to crown rot. This plant performs better in the difficult hotspot spots of your yard than in the pampered beds. The practical tip most gardeners overlook. When deadheading, cut the entire spent spike down to where new growth is already showing. The second flush comes back nearly as strong as the first. Number 5. Lavender, the atmosphere plant. Lavender is where the perennial garden becomes a full sensory experience. That unmistakable fragrance on a warm afternoon. Bees humming through silver blue spikes. Soft foliage, holding its color even through a dry August. Planted in June, and you're not adding a flower, you're adding a mood. Lavandula angustifolia has been cultivated since ancient times, used to scent linens, calm nerves, repel insects, and flavor food for thousands of years. That's not a trend. That's a track record. Here's what most gardeners get wrong. They kill it with kindness. Rich soil, extra irrigation, mulch against the stem, all lavender killers. This plant wants sharp drainage, lean soil, and to be left alone. Plant it on a slope, in raised beds, or in gravel. Harvest the spikes just as they open, bundle them, hang them upside down. 3 weeks later, you have dried lavender that fills a room with fragrance for months. One plant, one hole, limitless return. Number 6. Coreopsis, tick seed, the non-stop machine. Few perennials bloom as relentlessly as Coreopsis. Those golden daisy-like flowers appear in early summer and keep going well into fall without significant deadheading, extra feeding, or much attention. Coreopsis verticillata is among the most reliable performers across almost every U.S. climate zone. A native prairie plant adapted to thin, dry soil. Skip the fertilizer. Skip extra watering once established. Both push leaf growth at the expense of flowers. Here's what most gardeners don't realize. Coreopsis actually blooms longer in poor soil than in rich. The stress of lean conditions triggers continuous flowering as a survival response. Difficult ground isn't a problem for this plant. It's an invitation. Deadhead lightly through peak season. In late fall, leave the seed heads. Finches feed on them through winter, and self-seeded plants appear the following spring at no cost. Number 7. Russian sage, Perovskia, the silver blue cloud. Russian sage is the most architectural perennial on this list. Tall, airy stems covered in tiny violet blue flowers, rising above silver foliage, create a haze of color from midsummer through early fall, and it does this in the driest, hottest spots in your yard. Once established, it can go weeks without rain and look better than most well-watered plants. Full sun, poor soil, sharp drainage. The more you leave it alone, the more silver and upright it stays. Overwatering creates floppy stems that need staking. The one thing most gardeners miss. Cut it hard in early spring, down to 6 to 8 inches. It looks severe. Do it anyway. That cutback keeps the plant dense and upright, instead of turning into a tangled woody sprawl. New growth is fast, and the summer bloom is stronger every year for it. Number 8. Catmint, Nepeta, the long-season workhorse. Catmint produces cascading mounds of violet-blue flowers above soft, aromatic gray-green foliage. First bloom in early summer is dramatic. Cut it back by half, and it blooms again in late summer with almost the same intensity. 2 full bloom cycles, 1 planting. Bees are obsessive about catmint. Plant it near anything that needs pollination. Vegetables, fruit trees, berry bushes, and watch the traffic multiply. It also suppresses weeds through its dense spreading habit, doing 2 jobs without being asked. The mistake most gardeners make: rich soil. It produces lush, floppy plants that need constant management. Lean, well-drained soil keeps it compact and upright for years. Full sun to light shade. Drought tolerant once established. deer-resistant. This earns its space 10 times over. Number 9. Shasta Daisy. Leucanthemum, the one that holds the design together. Shasta Daisy has been anchoring cottage gardens, farmhouse borders, and cutting gardens across America since the late 1800s. That longevity isn't sentiment, it's performance. Those bright white petals around a clear yellow center bloom prolifically in early to midsummer, and often repeat if you remove spent flowers before they go to seed. Cut them for vases. They hold beautifully indoors. Here's the design truth about white in a perennial border. Surrounded by the oranges and golds of black-eyed Susan and the rich purples of Salvia and Echinacea, so white provides the visual rest that makes every other color look more intense. White isn't neutral. It's the pause that makes everything around it vibrate. Plant Shasta Daisy between your bolder plants and watch what it does to the whole composition. Number 10. Garden Phlox. Phlox paniculata, the fragrant midsummer anchor. Garden phlox takes over when the early summer bloomers wind down, and it does it with some of the most intensely fragrant flowers of any American perennial. Large, domed heads in white, pink, lavender, and magenta appear in July and August, when the garden most needs something dramatic. The fragrance carries on the evening air and stops conversations. This one wants regular moisture. It's not a drought plant. Full sun to light shade, rich soil, consistent water. Choose mildew-resistant varieties and plant with good airflow. Never crowded against a wall or fence. Air circulates, mildew can't aslish, the plant stays clean all season. Plant phlox near a porch, patio, or walkway where you spend evening time. On a still July night, the scent carries 30 feet from a mature clump. It will change the way that outdoor space feels from July through September every year. Number 11. Yarrow, Echinacea, the indestructible workhorse. Yarrow has one of the longest documented histories of any garden plant. Echinacea millefolium gets its name from the legend that Achilles used it to treat battlefield wounds. In the June garden, its value is visual and ecological. Flat-topped flower clusters in yellow, white, red, and soft pink rise above ferny aromatic foliage from early summer through fall, and they cut and dry beautifully. Poor soil, full sun, minimal water. Yarrow thrives on all three. It spreads slowly through underground rhizomes and divides easily to expand your planting for free. The flat flower heads draw beneficial predatory insects, parasitic wasps, hoverflies, lacewings that hunt the aphids and caterpillars damaging your other plants. Yarrow isn't just a flower, it's passive pest control. If you have a hot, dry slope that nothing wants to grow on, plant yarrow. It covers the slope, holds the soil, provides color from June through September, and asks nothing. Number 12. Joe Pye Weed, Eutrochium, the giant American original. Here is the plant most American gardeners have either never heard of or walked past in the wild without recognizing it. Eutrochium purpureum produces tall stems topped with large domed clusters of dusty mauve-pink flowers in late summer, reaching 5 to 8 feet depending on variety and soil. The scale stops people. Those massive flower heads in July and August draw monarchs, swallows, fritillaries, and skippers in numbers that feel almost unreasonable. A single established clump on a sunny afternoon can host dozens of butterflies at once. There is no other plant on this list that delivers a wildlife spectacle at that scale. Here's the trick gardeners don't know. Pinch the growing tips back by a third in late May or early June, and the plant branches, produces more flower heads, and stays at a manageable 4 to 5 feet, instead of pushing 8. Moist to average soil, full sun to light shade. Once established, it naturalizes slowly and asks essentially nothing. Plant it where height is welcome. By August, your yard will have a landmark. Number 13. Bee Balm, Monarda, the hummingbird magnet. Bee balm brings color and wildlife to the June garden in a way few perennials can match. Those shaggy flower heads in crimson, pink, lavender, and white produce nectar that hummingbirds, native bees, and swallowtail butterflies treat as a primary food source through July and August, coinciding perfectly with peak hummingbird activity across the eastern and central U.S. The aromatic foliage also deters deer, which matters in a lot of American yards. Divide every 2 to 3 years in spring. Monarda spreads by stolons, and older clumps crowd at the center, which is where powdery mildew gains its foothold. Dividing refreshes the plant and keeps it vigorous. Full sun, consistently moist soil, and enough space for air to move through the clump. One plant becomes a colony. Manage it and it blooms for decades. It works equally well in a structured border or a naturalistic planting along a fence line. This is a native plant that has been in American landscapes far longer than the gardens we're planting it in. Number 14. Baptisia, false indigo, the plant that keeps paying long after you've stopped thinking about it. And here we are, the one I held for last, because it is perhaps the most quietly extraordinary perennial available to American gardeners, and one of the most underplanted. Baptisia australis produces tall, upright racemes of deep indigo blue flowers above dense blue-green foliage in late spring and early June. After the flowers come inflated charcoal black seed pods that persist through winter and rattle in the wind. It is a genuinely four-season plant. Here's what puts it at the end of this list. Baptisia is a nitrogen fixer. Its roots host bacteria that pull nitrogen directly from the atmosphere and convert it into a form surrounding plants can use. Over time, the soil around it becomes measurably richer, without a single bag of fertilizer from you. It is improving your garden's chemistry quietly, underground, while the rest of the yard sleeps. It's also slow to establish. The first year it sits, the second year it begins to expand. By year 3, it's a substantial architectural clump that needs no staking, no dividing, no feeding. Drought-tolerant, deer-resistant, and long-lived beyond almost any perennial on this list. It self-seeds modestly into nearby spots, filling gaps you forgot and producing plants you didn't have to buy. Plant it in June in full sun to light shade. Dig a wide, deep hole, set it, and walk away. Come back in 3 years. The honest answer to how you got it to look like that is you didn't do much. You gave it June. The plant handled everything else. 14 perennials, 1 planting window. Every one of them asks the same thing. A little space, a little time, and the patience to let them establish. The gardening industry profits from repetition. Annuals you replace, amendments you reapply, products that run out. Perennials break that cycle quietly. You plant once. You divide occasionally. And for years, sometimes decades, they give back more than you put in. If you're walking away with a real list instead of a vague intention, do something with that momentum. Smash the like button so this reaches the gardeners wondering if June is too late. Drop a comment below and tell me which one you're planting first. Are you going with the easy sunny trio of black-eyed Susan coreopsis and Salvia for non-stop color from June to frost? Building a hummingbird corridor with bee balm and Joe Pye weed along the back of your yard? Or playing the long game with Baptisia, trusting it to become something extraordinary over the next few years? Subscribe now if you haven't already. Every video we make comes back to the same belief. The right plants heal your yard, your schedule, and your relationship with being outside. These 14 are the right plants for June. We'll see you next week.